Hello and welcome to another short 4D method demo. This one's entitled the Worker Job Monitor, also known as the Worker Watcher. It's a basic strategy for monitoring worker activity or for creating a job queue using call worker and call form. My name is Brent Raymond. I organize the 4D Method 4D in Wakanda user group. You can see our website at 4dmethod.com. This is a continuation of a discussion that we had in the August 30th, 2017 meeting where David Adams showed us a publish subscribe component for 4D using call worker and call form. And we discussed that that unfortunately there is no way to inspect a queue, a worker queue, a worker process queue, to see what jobs have been processed or which are coming down the pipe. There's just very little way to see what is actually going on as far as the activity in that process. So, okay, well, getting down to the meat of it, what we've got here is a little demo database that's available on the 4D Method GitHub site. But immediately the Worker Watcher window opens up. It's also available under the File menu. This is running currently in 16R4. Might also run in R3, not sure. But you have the ability to go ahead and run some test jobs. And it does really nothing but launches the jobs, and as the jobs are finished and processed, it updates the tally of the jobs in the process test queue. Now, yeah, it's quite simple, and I'll just get right to what the process test process is doing. And the approach for the worker monitor is very simple. Essentially, before you call any of the workers that you have in your system, you call a worker monitor worker process with information. In this case, it's just the name of the worker that I'm calling, and a 1, which will increment the number of jobs that I'm keeping as a tally for that other worker process. So you call it with a 1 before you call that worker, and then as you run, as each job is finished, in this case we're just doing a delay process of 1 tick, but as each job is finished, you just simply decrement the same name with the update worker count, process test, and it's as simple as that. So before you launch it, you tell the worker monitor that you've launched a job, before or after. I think before is better. You do some work, you process some information, and when you're done with the job, you decrement it. Now, this is, of course, very rudimentary. It would be nice to also say pass in a UUID, even if you're just generating it on the fly, like this, and then passing it into your worker process so the worker process knows which job UUID that it's actually working on and can update the worker monitor accordingly when it's finished. But that concept would hold, this concept would hold very easily for actually maintaining information about every single job that you have in any of the queues for your worker processes. We'll take a peek into the update worker count real quick. Don't want to get too messy in here, but what it's doing is it's calling the worker monitor process itself with a job that is to pass in this object, including the worker counts that you're wanting to increment or decrement. Let me just turn off the chat so you don't hear too much background noise there. But yeah, so you are passing in that worker count information to this job as an object, and then it is keeping track of the worker count tallies in a worker object, process worker object, which is persistent so long as the worker monitor, the worker watcher process, background process, worker process is running, which will be basically ever since you put in a tally for a worker process, or if you launch the worker monitor itself. When you launch the worker monitor, it will pass in its own window reference, and this process will keep track of that as well. So when you do this here, when you open the worker monitor, it will call the same worker with a worker window reference number. So at the worker monitor, the update worker monitor job knows what window to update with the information. And then when you close that dialog, it sets the window reference back to 0. So let's take a look at how that window reference is used. And so once it grabs all the information, checks the parameters, grabs the information, and tallies the worker counts, then if it knows that it has a window reference, it will simply call that form with all of the information about the workers. So this method really just takes the input object and does a JSON stringify of any of the data in there. Now, it doesn't have to be a JSON stringify. That is an exceedingly lazy thing of me to do. It would have been much more beautiful if it was in say, a list box with some pleasant colors. But regardless, we're not looking at how to make pretty interfaces. This is just a very simple test of how to make a rudimentary worker monitor, worker watcher process, so you can see all of the jobs as they're being processed for all of your worker jobs. Again, all this is doing is a delay process, but it works all the same. Okay, so thanks so much. Again, this code is available on the 4D Method GitHub site. Come see us in the next meeting and join the discussion. Hope to see you there. Thanks so much.